Good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited to have another guest on the Fileforms Business Compliance podcast. We're here with Pierce Brehm from Holland and Lane. We're very excited to have him and talk about partnerships, which is a critical piece to growing your business in 2026. And, partnerships has been something that's been extremely important for Fileforms since our inception and continues to be in 2026. So excited to have Pierce on the show today and share more about what we've learned together and what he's learned in his experience. Pierce, say hello to the listeners at home.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here, Frank. Really appreciate you setting this up and looking forward to a great conversation.
Amazing. Pierce, if you don't mind, just share a little bit of background on yourself and your firm.
Yeah, absolutely. Professionally, I've spent the last decade plus in partner selling. For those who aren't familiar with that verbiage, essentially it's leveraging your ecosystem to get into new business opportunities. Data shows in droves that it's a whole lot more effective going through your ecosystem and people that trust you to get to your end buyer than to go directly to them where they don't know you from Adam. And so we're really leaning into that as a strategy and helping companies tap into their network to drive revenue for their organizations.
That's amazing. And specifically with regards to industries, I remember when we first met, that really resonated with me. The types of partnerships I feel like you bring to the table are very, very specific. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we are really set out to dominate in the HR tech and services space. That's where I've spent the vast majority of my career. So organic network wise, that's very robust and that's a great network to tap into early stage for our clients. And then we've got some mechanisms leveraging our technology to grow that ecosystem, to the tune of 40 introductions per client per month. So ultimately, we're really focused in on driving growth in the HR tech and services space.
Amazing. Yeah, I think when most people think about HR tech and services, compliance might not be the first thing that comes to mind or corporate filings. But as you quickly learned in working with Fileforms, compliance is a pretty tremendous partnership opportunity. That's why we really built our business primarily around partnerships. We've not prioritized paid digital and things that most companies kind of starting out, startups, scale ups typically focus on. Partnerships is definitely a unique approach we found and definitely a differentiator. But as you think about what makes a successful partner, whether it's an industry or just a go-to-market motion, how do you think about that?
Yeah, at a macro level, what I would say is you're looking for alignment. You're looking for ideally companies that complement one another and don't compete with each other in any way. When you find that sort of connectivity between organizations, that's where really special things can happen. So really what you're looking at is, are you selling to the same industries? Are you selling to the same personas within those companies? And again, that complementary nature is huge. So that's really what we look at. When I look at it from a micro standpoint, and I think about the industry that Fileforms occupies in compliance, really what you're looking at are those who are really looked at as trusted advisors. Because ultimately, what these companies are doing is they're going to their CPAs or their attorneys, people who understand their business at a very deep level, and they're trusting them to get the job done for them and keep their companies safe. If you have two options as a company like Fileforms to go and try to sell directly or sell through their trusted advisor wins every time.
Definitely. And have you seen folks stacking partnership distribution up against paid digital, SEO, all the other forms of sales and marketing? And if you have, what kind of results have you seen in comparison?
I have. It doesn't come up often. I think there's a pretty solid understanding in the business community that partnership selling works. But I have seen the comparison side by side between selling through your partner ecosystem versus Google Ads, Google ad placement. And typically what I hear back is we're spending a lot of money on Google ad placement. We're not seeing the ROI. Whereas you can quickly attribute revenue to your partner ecosystem and just see, what's working pretty quickly.
Definitely. Definitely. And I guess in terms of finding partners, there's first off a lot of different types of partners. Maybe we could start there and just discuss, the different types of partnerships that come about At Fileforms, I know we offer 3 partnership channels, and I'll walk through those quickly, but then I'd be interested to hear your feedback as to, are folks typically going to market like this in a partnership realm, or are they thinking through it differently? And then ultimately, what have you found to be successful? But at Fileforms, we have 3 different approaches to partnerships, starting with the lightest, which would be just a simple referral. Our referral partnership model actually comes with a ton of resources. So it's still our team doing the work, but we are providing unique links, landing pages that are co-branded to those partners. And ultimately that's led to over 1,000 referral partners in our network today. Then the next step beyond is really a channel partnership, which is a little bit more defined. We call that Fileforms Pro, where effectively we're white labeling our technology to trusted advisors, as you mentioned, CPAs, law firms, HR technology businesses, and allowing them to distribute our services to their clients with the support of our team. And then lastly, the true kind of API embedded approach, where that partner is bringing us to market in their user experience, and we're really just existing in the back end, fulfilling orders that come through. So those are 3 different, very separate, kind of distinct approaches to how we think about partners at Fileforms. But I'd be interested to hear, is that typical, or do folks tend to focus on one versus the other, or others, generally speaking?
Yeah, I love all three of those approaches. I would say most commonly what we see is the referral approach. It just that tends to be the path of least resistance, but it's not necessarily the path to the greatest ROI. So I really love whenever you can find an opportunity to white label a solution or embed through APIs. It just becomes a distribution channel for your solution. And again, if you're able to tap into the trust of another organization, maybe one that's more mature and more well known as a commodity, I mean, man, that can really explode things very quickly, especially for a young startup. And so I love all three of those. We also see strategies around co-branding and really showing the power of, you know, what can be done when two organizations, different but aligned value props, come together to deliver value to their clients. You just find that they can do so much more together than they can in isolation. So we look at that as a huge opportunity for our clients too.
Do you think it takes a certain type of individual to be a good referrer? Because I found that in professional services, generally folks might not be the kind of referral type. They're more of a warm referral type than an affiliate. How do you think about that given your focus on professional services?
Yeah, really good question, Frank. I would say it takes somebody being willing to get out of the mindset of, I'm here to sell my own stuff. It's a selflessness and it's very counterintuitive, right? When you get hired to work for a company, they tell you what the product is, you drink the Kool-Aid and you're going to market and you're positioning it. If you want to really see success in a partnership motion, what you really have got to do is start thinking about the partner's product and engaging with people who have the same sort of mindset, because that's the currency that we operate within. It's new business lead flow, right? And so if you are only going into these discussions talking about what your company does, your partnership isn't going anywhere. So that's a big one.
Definitely. And we've heard that as feedback, where we make an intro and folks are actually a little taken aback because the person on the other end of the phone just can't relate to, their counterpart, and ultimately that does kind of lead partnerships to getting stuck in the mud. And obviously that's not what anyone wants. So we've found that when you do kind of set expectations very clearly out of the gates, and you have a defined process that folks can check the box and follow step by step by step, and then proven case studies that actually work and data to support those case studies, that's what we found to be successful. And as simple as those things sound, it's funny how huge businesses that represent, very sophisticated partnership models don't have simple reporting and don't have simple processes to follow. And you get lost in this in between stage between signed contract and multi-million dollar opportunity that makes a ton of sense to everyone around the table, but just call after call after call, people just can't get out of their own way. So I think it's really helpful, once again, to just find those partners that are willing to engage, follow the process as you lay it out, but having a clear set of steps for them to follow. And I could speak firsthand from our white labeled model, providing, a defined template. Hey, this is the data we need to onboard you as a client. Can pull your logo online, but it's going to look a lot better if you send us the high resolution version. And hey, if you can just simply let us know who on your team needs access to the platform so that we can launch. Those are the simple things that having them broken down can really make a huge difference. And then just mutual buy-in on the opportunity. I think some folks, when they're meeting new partners, they're a little hesitant to share the details of how big their volumes are, how much traffic they have, so on and so forth. But ultimately, if there is that mutually aligned vision, it's we're going to help you on your side and you're going to help us on their side. Ultimately, I think folks do get comfortable enough to start sharing a little bit more transparently and, really seize the opportunity. And then also on the embedded side, the placement in high traffic areas has been really powerful. So if you are blessed to have the buy-in from marketing and tech and leadership, which really I think happens this time of the year as people kind of go through the planning, it can lead to, I think, the best outcomes. But obviously, it does require a lot of mutual buy-in. Anything else there with regards to just types of partners that we should highlight, or things that you've learned that are either successful or lead to ultimately not be successful?
Yeah, I would really say it all comes down to finding how you're able to bring value to your partner and how they can bring value or how they're able to bring value to your clients. One of the examples I talk about a lot is we've got a dedicated practice to fractional CROs. So we've built this whole model where we'll work with these strategists around, generating revenue for organizations, driving sales, and they're great when it comes to strategy. But when it comes to the execution, what are they doing on that side of things outside of processes, right? Do you have any systems in place? Do you have any technology to help drive this? And so what we are able to do is come in and enhance and augment their existing offering through our technology, and vice versa. We do a lot on the tactical side and making sure that partnerships get off the ground. But in terms of the strategic, like kind of design of a partner program, we can bring them into the fold. And so identifying ways of mutually bringing value to your respective clients, and that's a huge win. If you can find those kind of partners, those are the ones that really take off.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your process around recruiting and how you ultimately build out your network, especially when bringing on a new client? Because I think that would be helpful for folks to understand.
Certainly. So early on, what we do is we tap into our organic network. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, I've been in the partner selling space, specifically in HR technology, for north of a decade. So the organic network there over that span of time has grown to a pretty large community. And so we'll tap into those relationships early on because I've worked with them, right? They know me and they know that I'm recommending a conversation. It's probably a good one for them to get involved and engage. Beyond that, once that network is exhausted, we leverage our technology to expand our reach into the partner community. And so our tech really takes what we call the ideal partner profile, or IPP, of our client, right? Those adjacent industries, they're selling to the same types of clients, they complement your offering, etc. We tap into every individual that fits into that profile that we can find through LinkedIn. And then what we're doing is essentially teeing up the value of the partnership discussion. And we're able to do that pretty effectively because our technology gives a fit score. So when we're taking a look at our client relative to a potential partner, is able to identify why these two companies would work so well together and why we have a high degree of confidence that there's revenue on the other side of this conversation. So we'll do some cold outreach to those individuals, laying out the case as to why they just should jump on the phone with our client, and they run it from there. Beyond that, our technology does kind of the constant engagement to keep the value prop and the brand of our clients top of mind, so that when they go into their network, their ecosystem, they're bringing up our clients and what our clients do proactively, not just by happenstance because an opportunity happened to come across their desk. They're out there advocating for our clients.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I'm sure partners expect that. When it comes to activation and feedback you've gotten as you onboard these clients, what do folks really expect? Do they expect portals? Do they expect data? Do they expect, instant payments, help me understand how the current table is set and then maybe how it's evolving.
Yeah, the big expectation we come across at the beginning of our engagements is always more. We want a bigger ecosystem. We want more partners. We want them ultimately to start driving revenue. There's a lot of like intricacies within that to get you from point A to point B, and that's where we focus our attention through our technology. Like the hardest part of driving partnerships is the constant engagement. And so when you have an ecosystem, like you mentioned, you guys have more than 1,000 referral partners in your community. How are you maintaining contact with all of those individuals throughout the course of the year? It's next to impossible for a human being to do that and do it effectively. And so what we're doing is we are applying a very human touch to our AI and our platform to automate that process. So they're still getting the visibility of your brand and understanding what it is that you do on a consistent enough basis so that come 6 8 months into the relationship, you're starting to see the lead flow come in.
Yeah, it's always interesting what ultimately gets the partner to engage because we make no shortage of content. We're writing articles about trust and estate attorneys to entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space to, HR companies that are expanding into all 50 states to family offices doing a capital call needing LLCs. So there's no shortage of content that we produce to help drive engagement because ultimately what we want to happen is that light bulb moment at the partner level. We want them to say, wow, that makes sense. And in fact, I'm going to meet with the guy at lunch today who fits that criteria. Or, there's a member at my golf club who I could introduce you to. That's an effortless introduction for me to do. And I think people don't realize how much HR opportunity or business services opportunity or compliance opportunity is really right there in their own organic network, as you mentioned. So it's really tremendous when folks like you come into the situation and can kind of enlighten folks to a degree, those who you're working with, to really get them to understand how much partnership opportunity is around the very table they sit at. With respect to attribution, have you found that to be maybe a pain point as you've kind of grown your business? Because I think everyone kind of has a different approach to tracking leads or tracking revenue, so on and so forth. Once again, what is the expectation? And have you seen process breakdown in partnerships or any process really hold strong?
Yeah, I'd say when it comes to attribution, the sales leaders that I've worked with have been pretty myopic about that, in that really all they want to do is see that the deal is closed in their CRM. Like that's the main focus. But when it comes to engaging your ecosystem, the attribution piece is so important because whether you're rewarding that partner with a rev share or whether you're engaging them more, but whether you're promoting them more, like having a strong platform of visibility to see where this business came from and rewarding it, that's going to continue to drive these relationships. And so it's really changing the mindset of these sales leaders to say, hey, listen, this is important. It's going to be difficult for your foundational CRM to have a record of this outside of just the sales record. And so what we have done is sort of isolated the data. What we're doing is we've got a separate platform. It does integrate with your CRM, but it really houses all of the partner data, whether it's their contact information or whether it's their performance, the activity, all of that. That's housed separately, and that really helps to attack the whole attribution challenge.
Definitely. We've been exposed to no shortage of partner technology over the course of our business's journey, whether it's a partner sending us an invite to join their platform or us doing the same for partners to join ours. I think we've almost seen it all. I'm not going to say that we've seen it all, but I think we've seen a lot. I've always been very underwhelmed with the infrastructure that exists in the partnership ecosystem. I think the tracking can be drastically improved. I think there's a lot of leakage, and in fact, our team had an epiphany moment a few months ago where we took it upon ourselves to build our own partnership portal and no longer use a third party's. So very excited to have that launched now. But I'd be curious, How often do you find that folks are using partnership infrastructure technology to either track commissions or track leads or clicks versus building a process on their own?
Feel like the in-house solution is becoming more and more popular. And I think that's, kind of just validating your point of sort of the shortcomings of a lot of the platforms that are out there. I think it's also a validation of the power of partner selling as part of your overall sales strategy. And what I think we're going to see is as AI increases the noise in direct sales, relationships are going to become much more important. So if you look at it like a stock, right? Direct sales, that stock is dropping because everybody's going to be just throwing out a ton of content through AI that makes them look great. It's going to be very difficult for the end buyer to differentiate, you know, what's good and what isn't. But the trust element, if that's a stock, that's going to skyrocket because that's where buyers are going to go to really sift through all of the noise. So that's really kind of something we're tapped into at Holland Lane is we are leveraging technology, but we're also using a human touch to let them know that, hey, listen, there are people behind this. There's a network behind this, and we're rapidly expanding the network to make sure that we can provide exponential reach for all of our clients.
Definitely. That's tremendous. I'd like to just highlight a few of the partners that we've had success with because I think we've been working together for over a year now and originally met at the Small Business Expo down here in South Florida. When Pierce and his colleague Devin came to our booth, I was thrilled when they mentioned HR partnerships because I thought I was meeting with solely mom and pop businesses that day and didn't expect sophisticated partnership people to come to our humble booth there. Pierce and I have definitely built a good relationship, both being from down here in South Florida and running our businesses down here. But yeah, I think I recall our first partnership intro from you was a PEO. I believe they're also based down here in Florida, and ultimately they came to us very frustrated with their current vendor. I'd be curious, Pierce, that relationship, for example, without saying their name, how did you get to know them? And then ultimately, what made you think they'd be a good fit for us?
Yeah, ultimately, that relationship started with us trying to position our solution to help them grow their business. Now, little did I know when I got into that discussion, 90% of their pipeline was generated by partners. They felt like they were crushing it, and you don't want to fix what isn't broken. And I totally understood that. But I loved working with them. I thought they had just great people behind the operation. And when you and I got to know each other and learn more about each other's businesses, I saw a natural fit there. And it was one of those just quick aha moments, I think, on both sides where there's a great partnership opportunity there. And I think it's played out well.
Yeah. When they came to us, they were frustrated with their current vendor, who's a publicly traded company. We were able to onboard them same week and then grew them from I want to say 5 states to all 50 states in less than 9 months, which was pretty tremendous and all in a very do-it-yourself way because we provided that top tier technology experience both in our application, but then also in our partnership model and that's just one example. I know there's been no shortage of introductions from the likes of CPAs to law firms to family offices and real estate operators who we serve. I think having that tangible, very successful case has propelled us to really take that to all of the different partner prospects we have. And once again, build great case studies, build great marketing materials, great ways of activating our partnership community. So if you are a multi-state entity listening to this podcast, we can certainly serve you. And I know Pierce could also probably help propel your partnership program pretty significantly, not just with Fileforms, but anywhere else. Yeah, that's great. I guess in closing thoughts, would love to just have you share your contact info and any kind of closing thoughts on what you all are up to in 2026. I know there's some exciting announcements coming. So yeah, would love to just kind of wrap it up from here and share your contact info and what you have on the horizon for the year here.
Yeah, absolutely. So find me on LinkedIn, Pierce Brehm. Email is Pierce at Hollyn, Hollyn, Lane, Laine.com. If we can help you at all on the partnership side, that's what we do all day, every day. Going or looking into this year, we're super excited about the rollout of our platform. It's called Cyrano. And so that is going to be heavily marketed, but within Cyrano, you're going to be able to organize all of your ecosystem data, leverage AI to grow your ecosystem, partners that are highly aligned to what you're doing, and then also the ROI attribution and the constant engagement. So really excited about Cyrano, and yeah, looking forward to helping as many companies within this HR tech and services space as possible.
Likewise. And, honestly, it's been a pleasure working with you. I don't think people realize how big the partnership market opportunity is. I view it as a multi-billion-dollar market. So any VCs out there listening should definitely take a look at great partnership technology as it's innovating here in the AI age. Because I, once again, can speak firsthand. The current providers out there, they're dropping the ball in a big way. And it wears on us as business owners and folks trying to reap the benefits of the technology. And by the way, you have to pay for it too. So it's just you're paying for a job at that point. But we'll end it on a high note. The weather's beautiful down here in South Florida. It's filing season, so if you haven't filed your Florida annual report and you are listening to this, please do get compliant by May 1st. Fileforms can help you with that, not only in Florida, but any of the 50 states. We do company formations, annual reporting, registered agent services, foreign qualifications, EINs. So really here to help both in the realm of partnerships and serving business owners and professionals. So Pierce, I think that's it. Thank you again for your time, and best of luck in 2026 with the new platform and all the exciting partnerships on the horizon.
Back at you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much.